Hey, cool cats. It's Paul. Today, we're going to look at a Yuriko deck that I whipped up from my friend who's getting into Magic. Let's take a look. So today, we're getting into Yuriko, the Tiger's Shadow. This is for my friend who has played Magic before, but not really Commander. So this is going to be a budget / entry-level friendly deck. So if that describes someone you know, you can go ahead and send this to them as well so they can get started. So this is Yuriko, the Tiger's Shadow. She costs 1, a blue, and a black for a 1/3 human ninja. She also has Commander Ninjutsu for blue and black, which lets you return an unblocked attacker you control to hand, and you can put this card onto the battlefield from your hand or the command zone tapped and attacking. So this lets you skip the command tax. Is a great way to get around the command tax. You should pretty much always be playing Yuriko with this ability, if possible. She also has whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put that card in your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's converted mana cost. So what Yuriko likes to do is have ninjas hit the opponent. You reveal stuff off the top of your library. That costs a lot because it means Yuriko gets to do a lot of damage to the opponent. And we're going to get into looking at how Yuriko can manipulate the top of her library, as well as some of the really expensive cards in the deck. So to start off with, as I said, it's a budget deck. So there's a lot of basic dual lands that come into play tapped. So Frostmarsh, Dimir Guildgate, Tainted Isle, Zhalfirin Void doesn't produce colored mana, but it lets you scry 1. So you can make sure that you have something expensive on the top when Yuriko gets in. So just a lot of cards like these, nothing too complicated, and just islands and swamps after that to make sure that you can get the colors that you need. So right now we only have 2 enchantments in the deck. We have Smoke Shroud, which is an aura that you can put on a creature. It gets 1/1 and flying. And then whenever a ninja enters the battlefield under your control, you may return Smoke Shroud from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to that creature. So why this is good is because when you're playing your ninjas out, any creature that has an enchantment on it, that's going to go to the graveyard when the creature returns to your hand. So how they got around that is they make Smoke Shroud return from the graveyard onto whatever ninja just entered the battlefield. So it's a nice little way to make sure your ninjas will get through because they have flying. And then the other enchantment is Cunning Evasion. This is a cheap little enchantment that says whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may return it to its owner's hand. So if you swing for the fences, just swing out with everything, and someone has something that you didn't really like, they block you and mess you up, you can return your creatures to your hand for another day to try again. So it's just a good little insurance. Next, we're going to look at the artifacts. So we have an equipment, Lightning Greaves. This says the equipped creature has haste and can be the target of spells or abilities. This is a great way to get your creatures attacking and making sure they're not interfered with. Sky Diamond, Wayfarer's Bauble, Mindstone. These are cards to get your mana going, to make sure you have enough to produce the expensive spells. Nihil Spellbomb is something to remove an opponent's graveyard if they're trying to do something sneaky, like Reanimate. Commander's Sphere and Prismatic Lens, also mana. Infiltration Lens. Whenever a equipped creature becomes blocked by a creature, you may draw 2 cards. So if you have a creature that you know is going to be blocked, you can put this on them and you'll get to draw 2. And then we have Crystal Ball, which lets you scry. You can do this often to smooth out your draws, as well as put expensive cards on top of your library for when Yuriko's ability triggers to make the opponents lose a lot of life. So we're going to look at those cards now that make opponents lose a lot of life. Blatant Thievery. So this costs 7, so that would make the opponent lose 7 if you reveal it off the top. And it says, for each opponent, gain control of target permanent. So you get to basically take every player's best card. It's really cool. Aethergale, Bounce, aka return 6 non-land permanents to their owner's hand. Very cool. There's also things like Dead Drop, cards with Delve. So each card you exile from your graveyard while casting this spell pays for 1. Target player sacrifice 2 creatures. So this costs 10. You usually won't pay it for 10. You're going to use Delve to get rid of cards that you've already played, and it's going to be cheaper. But while this is on top of your library, it still counts for 10. It's still going to do 10 damage to each opponent. There's another Delve card. This card lets you surveil 2, which is similar to Scry. Instead of putting the card on the bottom of your library, you put it in your graveyard. So this is just another way to smooth out. This card keeps you drawing. Call of the Death Dweller. If Yuriko gets killed, you can use this to return her to the battlefield, and you can also put a Death Touch and Menace counters on her. So she will be able to keep swinging in. Yuriko with Menace, which means she can't be blocked unless by 2 or more creatures. That's a great combination. Here's another Delve card. There's also split cards in the deck. So this card is Connive and Concoct. You can either do this ability or you can do this one. You can't do both unless there's some that say Fuse. This one doesn't say Fuse, so you only do one or the other of these abilities. But while this card is in your library, the converted mana cost of it is both together. So this is 5 plus 4, so that's 9 damage right off the top. Here's Time Warp. Take another turn. You know, if you need one more turn to swing with Yuriko and finish the deal, there you go, right there. Here's a board wipe. Destroy all creatures. Scarsail Ritual. Put a -1 counter on a creature you control to draw 2 cards. You can put this on a ninja that you're planning on bouncing. So you put this on your ninja, give it a minus counter, draw 2 cards, and then return that ninja to your hand. When you play again, it won't have the counters anymore. So this kind of negates the drawback that this card gives you. Next, onto the instance, we have Fact or Fiction, just a really great card drawing spell. Oh, this is actually an Aftermath card, which is similar to the split cards, except you only play the top one when it's in your hand, and you play this one when it's in your graveyard. But while it's on top of your library, you count both. So 5 plus 2 is 7. Here's another card. This card costs 5, but it has, if an opponent controls a forest and you control an island, you may pay Submerge without paying its mana cost. You can put a creature on top of its owner's library. So basically, if anyone has a forest, you can play this for free. It's an instant, it costs 5, so it's going to do 5 damage. That's decent. And putting a creature on top of its owner's library, that can be decent, but it can also be really good. For example, if they put an aura on it or any equipments, you kind of negate those abilities. We have more split cards. Negate is just a counter to stop any shenanigans the opponents are trying to do to stop your game plan. Telling Time lets you look at the top 3 of your library. You put 1 into your hand, 1 on top and 1 on bottom. So basically, you would be putting the most expensive of the top 3 cards of your library on top of your library, put 1 in your hand, and then the one you don't want on the bottom. Spinal Embrace lets you take a creature that an opponent controls and then sacrifice it. It's just a really good card that we haven't seen much of lately. I think people have kind of forgot about this card. We have more split cards. This is one that has Fuse. So you can play this side and this side at the same time, which is actually pretty decent. Basic counterspell. Glint gives your creature hexproof and a buff to defense, so no one gets rid of it, hopefully. Another Delve card, that's also removal. A counter spell for when you're attacking, relevant for ninjas. Supernatural Stamina, when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield. Hopefully you can save Yuriko this way. This is removal. Impulse lets you get cards to your hand. And Discombobulate, kind of pseudo scry on a counterspell. Finally, the best part, the ninjas And a lot of these ninjas are from Modern Horizons because that set gave ninjas a lot of support. So this is whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, you can draw a card. That's really good. It's kind of like a ninja lord. Whenever Miss Moonblade Shinobi deals combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 blue illusion with flying. So this makes tokens that have flying, which your ninjas can then jump in place of once those illusions start attacking. So that's another way to get through. Icefall Regent is a creature that can tap down the opponent's biggest threat, and it also has flying, so you can potentially ninjutsu this if you need to. Ink Fathom Infiltrator is unblockable. Frost Titan is another big creature to kind of freeze down some of the opponent's stuff, slow them down. And there's a couple of these cards that are not super ninja themed, but you just want to help slow down the opponents so that you can get what you're doing. Vampire Nighthawk is a great speed bump for the opponent. They're not going to want to attack into this. And it does have flying, so when you're ready to attack, we'll get through and you'll have someone who can ninjutsu in. This ninja gives another creature you control indestructible. Merciless Executioner, great removal card, just trim down all the creatures the opponents have. Same with Fleshbag Marauder, very similar. The Nevermaker has flying, so it can attack, and then when you ninjutsu it away to put Yuriko on the field, it has a leave play ability that you can put an online permanent on top of its owner's library. So most creatures have come into play effects. This one has a leave effect. So anytime it leaves, you'll get to do this. So it's interesting. Mole Drifter, draw you cards, and you can return it if you need to. Hoverguard Sweepers, this is another big fat card. This costs 8 for 5/6 flyer, which is not that great, but you can return 2 creatures to their owner's hands. Here's a Phantom Ninja. Just a ninja that can't be blocked. Exactly what you want. This is a 6/3 ninja. Get a little damage going. The Hope of Girapur. This is a flying artifact, and you can sacrifice it to prevent the player who you hit from casting non-creature spells. So this is a way to slow people down, or if you think they're going to wipe the board or something, you can prevent that for a turn. Here's another ninja that can't be blocked. It's Changeling Outcast, so it's actually every creature type, including ninja. Watcher for Tomorrow has Hideaway, so when it comes in, you can you look at the top 4 cards of your library, put 1 face down, and the rest on the bottom of your library. And then when this leaves, you can put that card into your hand. So this is another good card to ninjutsu out. Throat Seeker. Here's another ninja lord. Unblocked attacking ninjas you control have lifelink. So that's just going to gain you life. Trinket Mage gets you artifacts that cost 1 or less when it comes into play, and you can ninjutsu it back to your hand so you can get that effect again. Shout out Sage's Owl. We've got Sage Owl here. When it comes in, you can look at the top 4 of your library and put them back in any order. Similar scrying, and then it also has flying, so it's a good ninjutsu target. And finally, Okiba Gang Shinobi has ninjutsu, and whenever it hits a player, they discard 2 cards. So a good disruption ninja. So overall, so I got this. This is from the mystery set, and I think this printing is so dark, like I can barely see her. So if you've seen other Yurikos in person, are they all this dark? I can barely see her. I guess, is that the joke because she's a shadow? I don't know. Anyway, like I said, this was a kind of a budget and intro deck, but I think it looks like a lot of fun from what I've seen so far, and I can't wait to play against it. I'm excited to play Eric. So when we play, we'll see what happens. But if you like this video, go ahead and give me a follow, and we'll be doing some more videos like this. Thank you. See you in the future.